Hello. Hi. I know I'm live and I did not announce this or I did not put it on my social media. And so I don't even know what that really means. But here I am. And I just kind of wanted to connect to y'all informally. I've been wanting to do videos for a couple weeks, but I just haven't had I sometimes I just have targeted things I wanted to say, and other times, like right now, like things are a little um in disarray. Hi, I saw you on Instagram live. Oh no, that kind of inspired me of like, hey, let's just go live and see what happens. I like it's bizarre. Well, first I'll just say I'm Chrissy. Thanks for being here. So glad to see y'all. Certified peer support specialist, founder of OCD Peers, author. Also, just wanted to give a shout out to No CD. If you're looking for therapy, go to treatmyocd.com. And they can help they do telehealth in the States and internationally in several countries. Um, so yeah, I really just have like 20 minutes and I thought, I had all these ideas running through my head of I could do a video on this, I could do a video on that. And then I was like, or I could just come on and just talk to y'all a little bit about what's going on with me and say hi. So thanks for being here. I see a lot of your comments. Um yes, feel free to ask questions. I mean, I think that's kind of how that's what I'm doing. I don't know if I can answer them, I can help. Um, HOCD has significantly compounded my social anxiety. Of course it has. Of course it has. I mean, HOCD, sexual orientation OCD, any sort of OCD that has to do with some of those, more themes that you don't want to talk about or you're just questioning yourself. Of course it's going to impact your ability to be social, right? That's what's so ridiculous about OCD is that it makes us doubt everything about who we are. And so when we're doubting who we are, it also makes us doubt how we're having relationships with people. That's why it's so sneaky and awful because and then it can lead you down the path of, well, I don't know if I'm lying to people or if I'm not telling the truth about who I am. If I'm having intrusive thoughts about being, attracted to a family member or something, and I'm interacting with my family, then I'm sitting there going, should I tell them, which would be confession, right? Which is a compulsion, or should I not tell them? And then I'm a phony. So, yes, 100% the social anxiety piece is going to be an add-on. It's going to be the same way depression would be. We get so exhausted from these thoughts. We get so tired of fighting this all the time, right? So my advice would or suggestion, because I technically can't give advice as a peer support specialist, but my suggestion would be, what this is. I know that you probably don't think that you know what it is because none of us really know it's OCD. We all just hope it is. But, my suggestion would be do what you would do normally, right? Do life. Don't let OCD impact what your life is and will be just because of your theme. And I know that sounds sometimes not doable or just sometimes frightening, but avoidance is also a huge compulsion. And anytime we can push into avoidance, we're actually doing exposure response prevention, which is how we combat OCD. What are you avoiding? Stop avoiding it. Make it intentional and go and face that. So I hope that helps. So let's look. Oh, look at all of you here. Yay. I know I didn't even know what was going on. I was like, I'll just go live and see what happens. But I'm just so glad that you're here. Okay. So thanks so much for your videos. Oh, you're welcome. Sometimes I just need to tell y'all this too. I don't like to do videos unless I'm feeling inspired to do them. So I feel like advocacy in general can get overworked and overused, if you're not in a space where you really feel like you're giving or you're actually giving to the community. So sometimes I'll go on a hiatus for a while and I won't do any videos. And it's not because I don't have anything to say, or it's not because I don't want to connect. It's because I don't, my main goal in doing advocacy is to benefit, me. Like, that's kind of selfish, but to benefit my recovery as well as benefit yours. So if I don't feel like I have something that I really want to talk about, I'm not going to do a video just to do one. And maybe that philosophy is outdated. I don't know, but for the most part, I think that serves me and you and the community the best. And typically, most of the topics about my videos come from either lived experience or from doing peer support with people, hearing things over and over and over and feeling like I really need to make a statement out there and to help you feel less alone or help myself feel less alone in what I'm going through. So yeah, thank you. And thank you for being here. I saw a video of a woman mixing 20 chemicals, cleaning a toilet. People were commenting it was OCD. I'm doing ERP. It works. Wait a minute. I don't know if this is the same thing. What are your thoughts on actual sexual orientation? I don't know how to answer that. I mean, what are my thoughts on it? I mean, I think we all have, I think that, sexual orientation is the thing. I think that's, I think it can be, I don't think it can be ambivalent, but I think it can be, of course it's going to be a source of, of uncertainty or targeted uncertainty for OCD when, especially, in the last 20 years. And I can say that because before that was when, in the 90s, when I had OCD and there was no information out there. There was no internet out there. There was nothing. Well, maybe 25 years, so there wasn't enough information out there to help you understand that this could have been OCD if you were having uncertainty about something. So my thoughts on sexual orientation are, I mean, we go through life looking to know what our sexual orientation is. But I mean, OCD, it's just an easy target, I think, for OCD, because there can be so much uncertainty around it. The same way anything can be an easy target for OCD that can give us uncertainty. So I don't really know how to answer the question other than that. Thanks. Yay. Mario, I'm glad that you're feeling better. That's so good. Magical thinking, OCD. Can you do a video about that? Maybe. I maybe can. And I say that because of what I said earlier. Sometimes it's hard for me to do videos when I don't really have a lot of insight, because then I feel like I'm not representing the theme correctly, or I'm not representing the topic. And I don't want to say things that might, trigger you, or that might, what I know about magical thinking is, I don't have a lot of experience of it, but I definitely feel it almost every day. Oh, if I say something like, oh, I'm feeling good, then that means that later on I'm going to get punished for it or something like that. But I don't know a lot about it from my personal and lived experience. So it's hard to do a video on something that I don't really have a lot of concrete knowledge or experience where I can back that up. I hope that makes sense. But thank you for the suggestion. I'll try to maybe weave it into other videos and topics that I do. I'll definitely keep it in mind. Hi, my friend came out as gay, and that ended up triggering the sexual orientation. Of course, it always triggers. All of that triggers sexual orientation OCD. I accept the thoughts and always say maybe, but I feel so weird. Any tips? Here's, again, sexual orientation theme is so prevalent. And I just want to let you all know this. It's so prevalent. And it's also, at this point, it's so stifled to be able to talk about, because the fear is lots of people don't want to talk out loud about having sexual orientation OCD because they don't want to feel like they're not aligning with the LGBTQI community, right? So that's hard. But we can't help our triggers. We can't really help, like, if I am seeing an article about someone who's been, let's say I identify as straight. So if there's an article about someone who is married for 25 years and then boom, they came out, as gay or bisexual or transgender, and I know they're different things. So just understand, I feel like all of that kind of falls under the same umbrella for OCD. So I'm not mislabeling, but lots of people are going to get triggered about that when they're looking for certainty, right? So when you see that someone else is, kind of standing in their truth, or I'm going to make this proclamation, all of a sudden, of course, it's going to get to you and it's going to make you go, well, does that mean that I'm not? The same way if someone's, a trusted friend of yours has been in a relationship that you've looked up to, and then all of a sudden that relationship ends, what are you going to do? You're going to go, oh my gosh, does that mean my relationship isn't good? Right? So anything that's going to not support or give you reassurance for what you have experienced based on what's going on with something else, of course that's going to trigger you. Tips on that, I would say, really, be supportive and congratulate your friend, but don't look at that or anything around you as an indication that because something is happening, it's a sign, right? Because that's what we do. We get all trapped into that. The signs. Well, this happened, so that must mean this. So do your best to try to avoid that. But yeah, be supportive and congratulations to your friend. Oh, look, I see something about the groin. Here we go. It took me 2.5 years to overcome the intense hold POCD. Whew. I'm so sorry, Braden. Like that, it's just so hard. POCD is so hard. Even now, I get a thought now, and then the groinal movement, and then I'm like, oh boy, here we go again. Yes. So this is a really great point and something I'd love to expand on. That, and maybe I'll do a video about this at some point. I think it's really important for all of us to realize that. Okay, what do we want the most? What do we want the most? To wake up tomorrow and OCD's gone. That's what we want, right? What do we want? OCD gone. So that's not going to happen. This is a lifelong illness. I know. Don't yell at me in the comments. But it is. And I don't mean that like your flu is a lifelong illness. You're going to have it every single day for your life, but it is something that's with us. And for me, it was freeing understanding that, right? So here's what I want to tell you. Most of us have themes that pull us in, right? They grab us and they body slam us. They bring us to our knees. It's usually some theme you remember from being a kid and it just never went away, or something that came up later, or this or that. And when you have these themes, this is where I believe that you can become traumatized by them. And not a lot of people in our community would agree with me, but I don't give a shit. As y'all know, I just don't care. Like, I trust my ability to talk to the community and come to my own conclusions more so than anything. I believe that we can get really traumatized by that. We can get really pigeonholed by that. So when you have these themes that, like Braden is saying, where it just took you down for 2 years, right? And then, okay, I feel like OCD ebbed and flowed. I'm okay right now. But then boom, when it comes up, I feel the same. I'm stuck in the same spot. Okay, let's look at this from an objective perspective. Of course you're going to. Of course you're going to, because that theme dominated you for so long. And we, not in a condescending way, but we took the bait. Didn't we? I mean, there was this and we had to respond like this. There was this, and then there was the groinal. There was this. So we're conditioned now. It's almost, I had a client once say this, and if you're watching, you know who you are. He said, when I see this, my groinal is fused to it. And I remember just thinking, oh my gosh, that just life-changing for me, because there are things that my groin in my brain are fused to, and I can't break that. And wasting energy trying to break it isn't helping, right? It's just understanding and accepting. And y'all know how I feel about the word accepting, but still, accepting that that's just how it's going to be. Your reaction to POCD triggers or SOOCD or harm OCD or, relationship OCD, whatever, those triggers are always going to feel the same. That feeling may never go away. Even if exposure to them reduces the anxiety, you still just may have this jolt every time you're exposed to it. Right. So, if I use this example a lot, I don't know if I've done it in a video before. If you're in an office building and they're saying we're testing the fire drills today, you don't have to leave. Just know that when they go off, that's it. You're still going to have the same response when the fire drill goes off, right? Because your brain is positioned to go, you are in danger, get out. So it doesn't mean that you're not going to have a jolt of anxiety when the fire drill goes off. But then you can go, oh, that's right. That's right. They told me that. But then you still might have that little bit of doubt. Well, what if this really is a fire? Right? So this is what happens when we have these prolonged themes. And then maybe we get a break from them, or maybe we get effective treatment. But then they come back and we go, oh my God, what does that mean? Does that mean that I'm not over it? Does that mean that's really true? I mean, I for one know that age works against you. I'm 44 now. If I get, intrusive thoughts about sexual orientation, HOCD, my brain goes, oh, Chrissy, it's 35 years later and you're still having these thoughts. What does that mean? So just know, and thank you for that question. I am really passionate about that point. Just understanding that we can be triggered, and that trigger may never lessen in the intensity when it hits us, but our job is to change our response to it in order to not have the same lasting impact. So I hope that helped. I'm going to do as best as I can to speed up because I have to go in 5 minutes, and maybe I'll do this again because this is so cool having you all here. Is it possible for something to not be OCD even if you have compulsions and anxiety and fit the criteria for OCD? Let me think. So, I mean, to me, when I'm reading that, it makes me think that you're looking for reassurance. So I don't know if you are, but one of the things I do know is that we're always looking to see if something really is OCD. And so if we think maybe it is, there's always going to be the doubt of, oh, maybe it's not, right? And I learned this lesson really the hard way in the last couple years when I went from having violent, sexual intrusive thoughts to this intrusive thoughts about something that was really happening to me. So to me, I just thought, well, I'm still meeting the criteria of OCD, but it just can't be, right? So the goal then became, I need to figure out if this is or isn't OCD, and I'm so scared it's not, and I'm just fucked, right? And so I feel like when I read that question, that's what it's asking. Here's my suggestion. Monitor your compulsions. It's really the only way we can know if it's OCD or not. You still might not believe it, right? And then you still might be like, I'm faking compulsions just to prove it's OCD. Why is this disorder so awful? But you know what I'm saying? That's what it was for me when I recognized it was probably OCD based on my compulsions. I was like, I must be lying or faking it. It's so stupid, but that's the only thing we can really rely on is our response. Are we doing compulsions? Are we doing avoidance? Even if it takes everything in our being to be like, I think this is what it is, but I'm scared it's not. Monitoring that will tell you, especially from a prolonged period of time, you can start to behaviorally believe that it's OCD by monitoring that. If every time I'm triggered by OCD, I practice avoidance or I practice rumination, or it feels the same way, or I get a groinal, whatever, if you start to recognize the pattern, you'll start to see behaviorally, oh my God, this really is OCD. Even though logically your brain is like, no, it's not. You're just messed up. But that's also part of the pattern. Recognize that too. Every time my brain says it's not OCD this time and you're just messed up, there you go. Boom. That's another compulsion. That's another way to identify that it's OCD. Okay. I just have a few more minutes. I'm so sorry. I'll have to go live again. I didn't even think, I didn't even think to do this. Oh gosh. Okay. Is it possible for an intrusive image about doing something bad to turn into a memory by adding more and more details to something? Um, and I'm not even sure if it happened. I hope that makes sense. Yes, it is. Ugh. And this is such an icky topic. And I don't mean because of you, but just because in general, I understand this so much. And it's, this is going into the realm of false memories. It's going into the realm of real event OCD, which would be something did happen. And do I not remember it correctly? And all of that. And this is, I'm just going to say, you know how we always say like the themes don't, everybody says the themes don't matter. I always talk about how they do. Emotionally, they do matter. This is one of them that's so hard, and it does matter, right? Because we're looking back, we're looking at things that may have actually happened, things that may, we still feel that cringe of, oh my God, why did I say that? Why did I do that? And then you're adding on top of it, how did it impact people? And then did I remember it correctly? Did something else happen? I can't. So, this is one of those. And typically identify these as, and I might not be answering your question, and I'm really sorry. But I just wanted to make sure that this message went across, is really try to monitor the shame and guilt that comes on with these kind of themes, because these emotions are such driving factors in whether or not we seek treatment, whether or not we decide that it is OCD, meaning can I monitor compulsions? Because with real event, y'all, it happened, right? Something happened. I may actually feel remorse about something, and then now all of a sudden I've latched on. So really quickly, and then I have to go, and I'm so sorry, but this is so fun. I'll try to do this again, maybe next week, or maybe even this weekend. And I'll try to get to your questions then. This is the way I look at this. So hopefully this is helpful. When I look at my life as is like linear, right? So here's my life. I'm going along, yay, whatever. And OCD attacks a real event, or real event OCD. Okay. So what that helps me is this. If I look at it as linear, here's life. All of a sudden, OCD comes in here and plucks that life and spins on top of it. I visualize it like that, right? So then my life stops here. Life keeps going on, but I'm stopped here because OCD has come down upon me and is telling me, you've got to figure this out. You've got to figure this out. You've got to figure this out. And so now I'm not responding to life anymore. I'm responding to OCD, because no matter what happens in life, no matter, like, life still goes on, but OCD wants to pull you back in and put you in that cycle and that circle right there that goes, life is not happening until you figure this out. So you get caught into this big whirlwind on top of the timeline of your life. So I hope that makes sense, is when you can step back for a minute and see life is going to happen, and we are all going to feel really shitty about stuff, right? What we've done, what we've said, things that have happened. And then when OCD decides to attack it, it pulls it up. And then you get stuck in that moment, and life is still happening, but you're not allowed to be part of that. Recognize the compulsions you're doing around that. Now, I can't give you advice or suggestions on how to reconcile maybe things that have really happened, or that maybe other memories are surfacing, or that maybe you've repressed. I can't give advice on that. And I myself have experienced these things too. But what I do know is that I can recognize when I'm getting pulled up from life and into the tornado of, you have to figure this out, or you can't keep going in the timeline of life. And that's when I start to see I'm compulsively avoiding, I'm compulsively ruminating, I'm compulsively mentally reviewing, all of those kind of things. So I don't know if that helps, but that's why sometimes people go, real event OCD and false memories are different, but they're not. But that visual sometimes helps me to understand how I get stuck and sucked up into the tornado of it. So yeah. I do have to go. Gosh, I'm so sorry. I just thought like I would jump on here and probably talk for a few minutes and then it would be over. But I'm so glad to be able to interact with all of you. I'm so sorry I didn't get to your questions, but why don't I just commit to popping on to here maybe early next week in a live, and I will advertise it on my Instagram and my Facebook if that's okay with you. If you're on social media, I'll put it on there, the time and day I'm going to go on, because I would really love to just sit and hang out with y'all for a bit. I feel a little bit disconnected with the community. There's a lot of reasons why. It has nothing to do with the community. I'd love to share those with you when I'm ready, because lots of changes have happened in my life. But I will do that when I come back. But thank you so much for being here. This has been fun, even though it's been short. And I will do my best to come back on and interact with you again. I hope you have a wonderful night.